Bam. Bam, bam, boogie. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Le Pre-Show. I think I've been saying that a lot lately, actually. Le Pre-Show, specifically. Le Pre-Show. We got some good nuggets for y'all coming up with Señor Pablito Rico Rico. Ooh, that works. That's an extension of your name there. Pablito Rico Rico. That's what's up. I like that. Okay, so now let me grab the link here. Actually, let me throw up the... Very good. For those of you that are not subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe to our text list. This is where we're able to communicate with you guys when we go live, so you guys can catch the interviews. It's a text list, and we'll shoot you a text message with the link directly so you guys can participate with the interviews. The idea, of course, is you guys have your time to be able to comment and leave your questions, etc. for our guests. So we're about getting ready to rock and roll over here. I'm literally grabbing the link right now to send it out to all of you, all of our subscribers. Bang. Yes. Yes. 124. Dave. Okay. One second. Cool. Our live episode 124. Rico Rico. Wunderbar. Perfecto. Musical influence and dance. Wonderful. We're going to talk about music today, fam. We're talking about music.
Música.
We're going to talk about music. Rico Rico. Yeah. And we're going to schedule that for 8 p.m. Wonderful, which is just a little bit.
Rico,
Boom! Rico Rico. Entonces. So we were talking about... wherever you're at, it's Rueda. That's what we were talking about. Rueda. So Pablo, for those of you that don't know, we'll probably talk about that in the episode now. Is Pablo, if he's at the studio, if he's eating, if he's watching TV, if he's in the bathroom, he's thinking Rueda all the time. Which is actually really, really cool, because we can always know that if Pablito's around, he's always down for a Rueda. And a fun one at that, for sure, which is awesome. There's for some of the stuff that we've been talking about in instructor training, do you feel that you've been able to, I guess, kind of start to get creative with that? Only because I've started, and the last few ones that you've done have been awesome, dude. Like I mean, you hear me. I'm like, yes. Yeah. Like, no, like it's a lot of fun. Do you feel that that's changed anything at all, or because I know that we've been kind of going over some of the things that we covered in our privates, right? So It's kind of like the second or third time that you're hearing it. Do you feel that there's things that are able to sink a little bit more after hearing it a few times, or?
Well, the thing is that when we started doing the privates, it's the first time you kind of hear the concept, and after a while, hearing it 2, 3, 4 times, you not only understand it, you also start creating your own stuff that kind of mixes in together with everything you already know. If that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Because you now know more than the last time, there's more connections that are made from that same information. That's really good.
I think that, like the neurons are connecting now. Like, there are things connecting now. Yeah.
I love it. And that's a big one. And that's a big one because I feel like a lot of students, they're like, oh, I've heard this before. But if you've learned, like you just said, if you've learned anything since the last time, regardless of the subject being the same, right? If you've learned things on different subjects, then this should be a little bit clearer because if it's all at least all on the same subject overall, if we're talking about casino, then it should all kind of connect and a new light bulbs should be going off ideally. Yeah, no, okay, cool, awesome. Particularly with the like with the revolutions and stuff. All you guys have been hitting switches lately, which have been just awesome. And especially when it's landing with the music, which we'll be talking about today for those of you guys that are watching. Definitely a lot of fun in order to be able to participate with that, especially me, because me when I'm in a social gathering, I'm like, I don't want to be calling red all the time. Like gets I want to follow too, like in that sense.
Of course.
I don't want to lead all the time. Naturally it can be tiring. And so for sure, man. Okay, let me ask you that. Would you prefer, I guess, what would be your ideal ratio of calling a rueda versus not?
Calling a rueda versus not, versus following a rueda, I guess, right?
Right. Well, not dancing as a follow, but being a lead that's not calling a rueda.
Right. I think ideally for me would be probably like a 60-40. Like I love calling rueda, so it would be 60 in
Nice.
calling rueda and 40 in following rueda.
Dope.
I think that would be a good deal.
Dope. Like, okay, totally selfish. I don't think I've ever said this out loud. Totally selfish. I just want to be. I want to be like. This is gonna sound so bad. I want to be in a rueda where like I'm trying to teach you guys so that I'm in a rueda that like I'm like trying to keep up with you guys. Eso es lo que quiero. Yo, like, I want to be able to feel that feeling from others calling, which is why I'm always excited to be in other people's ruedas, because that's all I want. I want to be able to kind of feel someone else's awesome energy. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
And not just in a who's loudest, because there's those like, this is someone who can scream loud. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the actual choreography, of the movements that we're all doing together. Which is what kind of like what we were talking about today, and hopefully we can bookmark this. Let's see if we remember when we talk about it during the show. Is that if you're calling a rueda, you should just be representing kind of like what you would do socially. So you're just saying it out loud so that the other people in the rueda are kind of like they're your copies temporarily speaking.
Right.
Which is obviously really cool if you're connected to the music, sintiendo ese sentimiento. Sintiendo ese sentimiento, is that even right? Feeling that feeling?
Feeling that feeling? I think that's right.
Yeah. Ese sentimiento de rico. There's no better way to describe that. I mean, I love it. I love it. And then passing it to someone else. So let's say, you just felt someone's energy, right? And it was totally awesome. Then you pass it over to someone else and they're able to take the same song and interpret it differently while still, it's another type of rico. You know what I mean? So you're going from
Really different.
Vanilla ice cream, delicious, and now you're doing chocolate ice cream, delicious, pero completamente diferente,
Yeah.
But essentially still, I guess for the sake of the analogy, ice cream still at the end of the day, because it's still the same song, if you would.
Right.
Yeah, man. So that's good. So what I'm trying to tell you is, summary, You're becoming another flavor, which is totally awesome. There's a Pablito flavor that's brewing, and it's totally awesome. Really, really, really cool. So let's actually, since ya estamos llegando a las ocho, let me close up this timeline here, and then I'll go ahead and start us off here. Let me hide you just for a second. So once again, for those of you that are tuning in, feel free to go ahead and ask any questions. Doesn't matter. There's no specific time for this. Please feel free to participate throughout the interview as we make this happen. So I'm waiting for the text message to come through now. Again, welcome for all you guys that are hopping on now. We have a very special episode coming at you in a very short period of time. Ya estamos llegando a las 8. If you are tuning in, go ahead and drop us a comment letting us know that you're here and where you're listening in from. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the text list news.salsakingslive.com. It's a website. Just hop on your Safari or your Chrome. Hop into that website. And Dariana is tuning in. What's going on, Dariana? What's going on? Hopefully you'll be able to let us know your insights, Dariana, as usual. You'rethebomb.com. You knew that already. We'll be talking about music today. So definitely let us know what your thoughts are and any additions that you have. But jumping right into it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Salsa Kings Live, episode 124, Rico with Señor Pablo, a.k.a. Pablito Peña García. He is one of our newest beloved instructors at Salsa Kings, dancing for less than 2 years, and we are actually really proud to say that, as he is already teaching with us at a quality and that is to the Salsa Kings standard, instructor, performer as well. Also excited to compete in November for the first time at the World Salsa Federation Salsa Summit, amongst many others. Definitely really passionate about social dance, about music, and we actually wanted to take the time to get the perspective of someone who is newer in the scene. We bring on pros all the time, as they're kind of coming through this journey, similar to all of you that are listening and tuning in, and kind of getting a perspective on someone that's a little bit, we feel a little bit closer, if you would. Sometimes things can seem far or out of reach, but with obviously dedication and of course the proper training together, magic can truly happen. Not only on the dance floor, but in one's life. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and bring on Mr. Pablito. What's going on, homie?
What's going on, bro?
What's up, dog? Hey, nice shirt, bro. I like that. And Miami Salsa Cruise. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Miami Salsa Cruise, guys. Visit MiamiSalsaCruise.com. Hop on our discount text lists so you can go ahead and get $50 off your event ticket. Guys, the cabins are already almost sold out. They're almost not. They will finish accepting deposits at the end of October. So go ahead and take advantage, hopping on that now. Make sure that that's happening. Salsa Kings members, for those of you that are tuning in, you are receiving your event ticket absolutely free with an active membership. You should have already received that email. So go ahead and book your cabin immediately before it is too late. Last year was an absolute blast with our crew. And it's going to be absolutely amazing yet again this year aboard the Carnival Celebration, January 21st through the 28th. Sorry, Pablito, that was cutting into your time there for a second. I was supposed to do that beforehand. But yes, so Pablito joined us on the Miami Salsa Cruise as well. And it was definitely a lot of fun with the workshops and the whole deal. So my bro, once again, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate you. And
for sure.
We're definitely gonna have some fun today. This was actually more of a last second episode for those of you that are listening, simply because Pablito and I seem to have podcast type conversations about salsa almost every other day. And so I was like, what are we doing? Let's capitalize on this. So decided to bring him on the show, and he's excited about it. So we're gonna go ahead and just share what we normally talk about here with you guys listening. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So first and foremost, bro, talk a little bit about yourself. I know that you haven't been dancing too long, but there are plenty in the scene that already look up to you, man, which is awesome. Which actually, our last episode too was with Claude Eric and Shirley, which are another. I believe he's 17. He's been dancing for a while now already, though. But you know, it's nice to bring on some young talent on here and to get your guys' perspective. So tell us a little bit about you in particular, and how did dance kind of come around in your life, and I guess how it's impacted you, at least this far. I'll give you the floor.
So basically, I was born in Madrid, Spain, Spain. Until recently, I thought we had no salsa, no bachata, no Latin dance. My mind changed, but basically, I grew up with almost no influence of salsa Cuban culture, even though my whole family is Cuban. And yeah, since I was young, I was just, normal kid playing soccer, playing sports, nothing really going on with salsa. Then, at 11 years old, more or less, in 2015, I moved to US, and I would say until up about 2022, 2021, is that I started to get into the salsa world. I went to Salsa Kings, and from there on is history, man. I've been dancing for a year and a half. I'm 19. I've been dancing for a year and a half, and it's honestly, been one of the best, like, what could I say? One of the best areas of my life, one of the best times of my life. It just gives you so much life, man. That's a beautiful thing. It's a
I,
beautiful thing.
I love it, man. I couldn't agree more. Were you dancing, or did you start dancing in high school, or had you already graduated?
So I started dancing actually in the later half of my senior year in
Okay.
high school.
Okay. So, in my experience, I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this on the podcast before, but I started when I was about 16. So, my prom for me was was all salsa. There was a main room, and then there was a side room, if you would, that they were playing Latin. And that's where I was. Was that your case at all? Were you able to capitalize at all with your classes and stuff during prom?
Man, I went to prom and I didn't even stay for an hour. They were just doing normal music. I didn't even stay for an hour, man. It was
Oh
crazy.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, and you went to high school here in Miami, right?
Yeah, I went to Ferguson. It's over more or less like Kendall. Yeah, I
Yeah.
went here.
Está bien, está bien. Okay, cool. So then you actually started, I guess you could say, in the socials then. So then you actually, when you started dancing, it was more in the scene, specifically, um, I guess I would assume Wednesday night, Thursday night, Sunday nights, right? The
Yeah.
standard. Where was the first place that you went out? Do you remember?
Oof. Yeah, I remember clearly. I know it was La Mesa. I'm pretty sure it was La Mesa Doral, but it might be
Okay.
Mesa Go Away.
Okay, so La Mesa with DJ Cabrera. Shout out to DJ Cabrera. I love you, brother. Yeah, no, definitely good music, an amazing party. La Mesa is still going on. So go ahead and check that out. I'll actually go ahead and take a look at what account you guys can specifically follow to check those out. Yes, La Mesa. I believe it's Doral that's consistent now. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I think so.
cool. Yeah, so La Mesa Doral. That's wonderful. Okay, cool, man. So, all right. So it seems like you, similar to me, then you actually had no, I guess you could say, dance culture or anything like that. Even though your family's Cuban, that's the same. That's the same situation with me.
Same
Um,
thing.
I guess out of my own interest, I kind of fell into it. Was that the case with you? Like, who or what brought you into the salsa scene, or gave you interest to begin with?
So, my story is actually a little bit curious because I was a really big soccer player. I played soccer for close to 12, 13 years,
Nice.
13 years. So almost my whole life up to that point. I was 17. I played soccer since I was five, basically. So that was all my life. And then all of a sudden, it was just not fun anymore. I quit. And out of the blue, I had this like 7 hours after school that I didn't have anything to do. So
Okay.
yeah, and my interest kind of came because of my mom. I actually started salsa, and I was forced to start it. I was forced to try salsa
Mira para
because my
eso.
mom just watched me at home. To sabe, como que, oye, you're not doing anything. What are you gonna do por las tardes? You cannot be here all day. And she made me go to the studio to Salsa Kings, and I got like addicted, bichito, you know?
Nice, nice. Yep, absolutely. The salsa bug, as we've talked about in a previous episode too. There's no doubt about it. Okay, so then, and you were telling me that you actually started, or you went to the you went to the to I guess you could say the old studio, the
Just
pre-pandemic studio first, no?
yeah,
And that was pre-pandemic. So you started your classes before a year and a half, but then you came back and have stayed for a year and a half. Is that right? Is that more accurate?
yeah. I actually went to Salsa Kings for close to a month on my sophomore year, but I don't know. I did the basic classes, and I never got around to going to the other levels, and I just stayed there. And eventually, school started, and
Right. Just kind of right.
I
Okay.
moved
So
on.
the timing was off. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So then you came to the post pandemic studio, and then that's where kind of everything started after that. Then.
yeah. Everything started right there.
Gotcha, gotcha. And guys, when I tell you, Pablito has not left. He has not left since, and we couldn't be more happy for that. Okay, so that's awesome. So let's get right into to today's topic. For those of you that don't know, every single one of our guests select their topic of interest, something that they feel particularly passionate about, or what they've kind of learned in their experience is the most, I guess you could say, valuable nugget. And Pablo has been known to kind of just, I forget what it's called, like this phrase, this slogan, if you would. Pablo's slogan is "Rico Rico," and we felt that it's very applicable here as we're talking about your topic of choice, so bro. So I'm not gonna take that. So you go ahead, let us know what does Rico Rico mean? I guess let's say outside of the dance first, right? And then how does that apply with what you want to talk about today?
So basically, let me start here. So Rico Rico started as a way to describe something that felt good, if that makes sense. So
Okay.
not only in the dance, well, dancing feels amazing. So anytime you dance a good songs, you can say Rico Rico. But it started basically Rico Rico. It started as something that just felt good. If you were talking with someone and he told you something that felt good, Rico Rico. And when I say with music, I mean it in a way that if you're listening to the music and it feels good, and you get that feeling of qué rico, como like the click. I think Andres just mentioned it in a couple previous episodes. You can say rico rico, and the feeling never changes. It's always the same. At least it's been for me up to now.
Okay. So Rico Rico's because there's Rico,
The rico.
and then there's Rico Rico, right? So it's almost like, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is almost like a kind of like a next level,
Right.
right? So and if we're talking specifically about the, I guess you could say, the influence of the music, right? Is that when you were talking about Rico Rico, you were talking about not just the dance, but I guess the involvement of the music to the dance that kind of takes it to the next level. Tell us a little bit about that. What did you want to say specifically about that, and how that applies to you and what you've learned, and how that's kind of taken you to a next level of the actual dancing versus just going through the motions that you learned, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So I think a lot of people at the beginning when they start dancing, they they see the dance and they only see the moves. They only see the montaña, the sombrero, the enchufas, especially when you're starting, that's what looks the coolest. It's what looks good. And you want to learn as many turns as you can because it's what looks good. It's what the follow likes. It's what you like. So it's basically everything. But then you get to a point where yeah, you know in two five, you know a little bit of on one, you know a little bit of on two, and you're like, is that it? Is that everything there is to dancing? And
Nice.
then you get someone like this guy over here, and he tells you start listening to the music, and you're like, oh my god, there's music. It's actually music. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Rigo basically is like, oh yeah, there's something good. You're like, oh, que rico está. But then you hear something that is like really really good, and you're like, rico rico rico. Oh my god, that's good. And that's basically where it comes from.
Nice. Okay. So then now how would you say so you finally feel this feeling, right? You're able to borrow it from the song or even steal it from the song, right? And I like to do this. You're literally eating the song, right? So now it gets inside of you. And what do you do from there? How do you take all this knowledge and apply it? How do we take it from, that it sounds good, that it sounds rico rico, to actually expressing it in a way through our bodies, because essentially that's what dance is.
Right.
How would a beginner student, again, um, you're the closest to a new student that's aware of this information. You're the closest to the new student. How would you tell yourself to tune in to this feeling? Or what would be the easiest path? What would be the easiest way to go about accessing this feeling of rico rico without kind of overloading the mind, if you would?
Let me see. So yeah, I mean, new students, I know exactly what you're going through. I mean, you're learning a lot of stuff really fast, so you can obviously get really, really overwhelmed really fast. But what I would kind of tell you guys is that it's not about even though he said, like Andres said, eating the music, and that's a perfectly good analogy. If you wanna, let's say, water it down a little bit, just kind of, how do I say this? Just kind of move however you want. Because at the beginning, I think especially at the beginning, we tend to focus a lot on the moves and what's right, what's wrong, and what you shouldn't do, what you should do. And that's a really big trap at the beginning that you get into. And essentially just do whatever you want as long as you're on timing and as long as you are connected with your partner, which is just being in frame and walking and pausing, which is the first things that we mentioned in class. As long as you're doing that, you can do whatever you want, and you don't really have to do anything special. You just have to listen to the music and do whatever your body tells you to do.
Nice. Okay, and that's beautifully simple. That's beautifully broken down, as you said. And I think that gets overlooked, that simplicity. I don't know if I could have said it myself better, that you literally just do what you want versus what you think is better or what you think should be done, or what's best. And at the end of the day, this is an art, and that's what makes something rico rico, is the feeling versus the math. So understanding again that this is not a math problem, and that we're using this medium to express ourselves so that we can represent what this rico rico is. Now, here's the thing, and as you said perfectly, the idea is to be able to internalize the rico rico to then be able to express it, right?
Right.
So first we got to find a song that we like. We can't be stressed out at work or at school, right? At least if we're trying to create the likelihood of the click, right? If we're trying to create that scenario of this kind of flower, blossoming, this dance flower blossoming, that we want to be able to be in a position where we're not in any kind of pressure, right? That that we're having fun, that we're expressing ourselves on how we want versus, what our instructor told us to do. This is not by any means that you're not listening to your instructor, right? Your instructor is keeping you within a certain frame, certain guideline. Like, don't go over here. But everything in here is free space. And I guess you could say a question that I have for you then is, okay, so you have all of this space that you're able to dance within. How does a student know what would be the best path for them within these lines to get as close to that feeling as possible until it hits them? Because when it hits you, it's
Boom.
it's literally euphoria, heaven, I like to call it, for sure. So I guess again, how would we get a new student to feel that, or to head in that direction?
Head in that direction. Okay. So the first thing I think it is that if you felt the click for the first time, or you felt it a few times, or you've never felt it before, the first thing you have to do is connect to the music. And if that means doing two-step for a whole 30 seconds or a minute or the whole song, that's completely fine. Because again, the click is like a muscle. You're essentially feeling emotions. So the more you feel the emotions, the better you get at feeling the emotions.
Correct.
The
Wow. Yes.
the more stuff or the better you're gonna get at it. So yeah, first songs, yeah, you might have to do a two-step, but then you can start doing three-step and two-step. And then eventually, after a while that you've been practicing and kind of flexing the muscle, like if you were going to the gym, you can probably start, mixing in an enchufa, mixing in a couple moves, But essentially, like everything, is practice. You got to start it from the bottom and build it up over time.
Right. No, beautifully said, man. And I guess ultimately, keeping in mind that keeping this feeling as you evolve your steps, if you would, right? So, like you said, staying in two-step, if it needs to be 20, 30 seconds, a minute, a whole song, that's fine. Like, as long as you're feeling rico, the reason why we say that it is because it's going to be easier to feel this when you're not busy in your head, right? That's what you're trying to say, right? Am I wrong when I say that? So
no, that's exactly it.
Right. So the simpler the movements are, the easier it is for the music to come to you. And if you don't have a necessarily connection with salsa music yet, we encourage you to put on your favorite song. Put on your favorite song, whether that's Bad Bunny or whether that's Nickelback. I don't know. Yeah, no, just put on your favorite song and just rock to the music with that. And even a really good karaoke, like whatever your favorite, the karaoke, your favorite song, and notice how that feeling of rico comes in, and you're just able to sing every single word with all of your passion and all of your soul. Essentially, you want to bring that into your dance. So if we're thinking about the next movement or the next thing, and we sacrifice the feeling of a rico, then immediately we're kind of flushing the entire concept down the drain. I mean, am I right when I say that? Was that what you're trying to express here?
Exactly it. Because if you're always thinking about what's coming next, oh, I gotta sing it this way, I gotta do it this way, you're missing the whole point. You're supposed to just feel what's going on right now. So even if you know the song, don't worry about what he's gonna say or how the instruments are gonna break. Just worry about what's happening right now, because the less you think, the less clutter there is, the less moves, the less whatever. The more you remove, the better one-on-one connector you're gonna have with the music.
Woof. Boom. Yes, mic drop. Absolutely. No, and that's a big deal. And again, I think that's overlooked. Hence why we have this podcast, right? So for all you guys that are listening and watching, just keep in mind that the idea the original ideal of social dance is music comes on, you love the song so much that you can't help but to get up and to move your body, right? Versus that is salsa music. I will now do salsa steps. Right, exactly. So, or same thing, whether it be bachata or tango or zouk or all these beautiful, social dance art forms that are stripped of its essence because of the formality of the instruction, which formality of instruction is very good. It's very important. That's how we evolve. But the point is to not forget where we came from, to forget the reason why we're social dancing to begin with is because it feels rico, right? Exactly. That it should fill the soul. And if it doesn't, well then stay in your 2-step and your 3-step, dancing with somebody that you love, trust, just met, like their eyes, I don't know, whatever, and you're being with them and you're talking with them and you're sharing that song together. I implore you to in the beginning to just dance songs that you like. Like that's the whole concept, that you're moving your body and you're representing your body, and your body is representing how you feel, right? So if you're not feeling good, or if it's forced, or you're nervous, that's what's going to be represented when you're actually out on the dance floor. So starting off from that feeling, I think is really important. Huge, man. You're absolutely right. And tell us a little bit more about, I guess you could say, staying present, because now we're getting a little bit deeper, right? So we've eliminated the clutter, right? And you can even take this as far as that's the idea of meditation, right? All you're doing is breathing. That's it. How long can you do just that? And your mind is very powerful and it wants to solve all kinds of problems. But does your mind know how to do nothing, right? And then that's when we can connect more to el rico. So what the sentimiento de rico. So how can you help with that? How can someone relax while social dancing?
Well, the curious thing about the mind is that the mind is actually how do you call this? It's a one-way highway. So what I mean by that is that the mind cannot not pay attention to something. If I tell you right now, don't think of a yellow elephant, you're gonna think of a yellow elephant.
That's correct.
So basically, what I'm saying is that you can only think about things, and essentially, you can only pay attention. So the mind is an attention machine. You can only pay attention to something. You cannot not pay attention to something. So what you want to do is pay as much attention to the music as possible, because that's the way you connect. It's like talking to someone. If you're talking to someone and you don't pay attention to them, it's really hard to listen to them and kind of like process what they're trying to tell you. But if you really pay attention to them, you can actually start to feel what they're saying, and that's, I think, when you get into the click, and you pay attention basically to what's here, to the situation. Don't pay attention to what's in your head, and start paying more attention to what's here, to what's grounded in the present. And I think with a little bit of practice, obviously it's easier said than done.
Right. Absolutely.
But
you have people that are spending their entire careers trying to research this idea of the present moment. But I think social dance is a beautiful practice, a natural, fun, extremely fun way to practice staying present. Because if we're going to be able to represent in our bodies what's happening in the ever-changing song, that we have to listen to it, right? Yeah. If we want our partner to enjoy themselves, particularly leads, right, and we want to have our followers enjoy themselves, we need to pay attention to her, and that's all really important. Oh, we got a question here, which is a wonderful question.
Perfect.
So Pablo, and I'll answer it afterwards. How can it be not forced if there is a choreography behind it? I think that's a great question. Thank you so much for sharing. How can it not be forced if there's a choreography behind it. What do you think, my brother?
So I think the idea of the click in social dancing and choreographies are a little bit different because yeah, I mean it's exactly as you say. In a choreography, you have to do the choreography because not only you but your partner is depending on you and every other couple who's dancing with you. So I think there it's just more about trying to appreciate the music as much as you can because let's face it, it's not life's not fair. Maybe you don't like the song, maybe you didn't pick the song, maybe you're not doing the choreography, but essentially here you don't have a choice in dancing the songs you like or choosing and picking because you have to do it exactly as it's put. It's a performance, but you can do your best to kind of connect to the song. And I think the more you listen to a song, the more you can connect with it. So I think it's also practice. I think you can get to a point where you can just appreciate every song because essentially someone putting emotion into music and they might have done it a year ago and you still feel the emotion. So there has to be something there, a little bit at least.
Correct, dude. And you hit that right on the head. Another, again, amazing question. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like I think more people should be asking that question, to be honest with you. But Pablito, you said it right. You hit it right on the head. It needs to be so insanely rehearsed. It needs to be so okay. You have to be able to do the movements in your sleep. Being able to do the movements in your sleep will allow you to not think about it. So now now throw the movement out of the way. Now you can bring in you behind the movements, right? Now, here's the good news. If the choreographer is any good, which most of the time they are, choreographers, in my opinion, I think there's a lot better choreographers than there are generic teachers because as a choreographer, generally, and this is my experience, right? Generally speaking, they love music, they love dance, and they're doing what they feel feels good, at least for them. So as students being a part of that choreography, we want to try and connect to how our choreographer feels when they're doing it or how they would do it or why they selected that movement to begin with. Because if done correctly, it's not for no reason, right? So I'm plugging into this. I'm plugging into these movements. I have these moves processed. Okay, boom. Now it's in the mind. Yes. So this is where the choreography, in theory, is a little bit more complicated because we have to add both our memory as well as our feeling. The point is that the feeling, the El Rico Rico, is never left out, right? Yeah. So we have to reach that point on the other side of the choreography, right? So we practice it so much to where now, okay, we got the moves memorized. It's out of our heads and now into our bodies, and it's become muscle memory at this point. So now I can say, okay, let's say the movement for this measure is copa, por decir, okay? So now, okay, I know that it's copa, great. How is the music feeling at this moment? Is it sad? Is it happy? Is it fun? Is it bouncy? How is it talking to me? Now I'm going to do the copa. I'm not going to do it the same way that I did it last time. I'm going to do it with this feeling uploaded inside of this copa, right? And a wonderful question that you can ask your choreographer would be, how should I feel while doing this movement, right? So at that point, you're able to, again, represent the Rico Rico, represent the juice at all times versus, again, just kind of going through the robotic motions. Generally speaking, the goal of the beginner is to not mess up the choreography, to not mess up the order. But there's more beyond this. And I challenge it for all you that are listening. And Pablito, you've performed and you've done a wonderful job, and you've been front and center, and you've been the one shining like a star, brother, like literally, man. And because the practice was there. So I implore you that when you've got it memorized, you're 30% done.
Yeah.
you're 30% done, because what actually matters is el rico rico, is the feeling that you're able to shine through to your audience. The idea being that the person in the back is able to feel you, versus I'm doing it like everyone else. Yeah, go ahead, brother. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask something really quick. So, yeah, man, in like congresses, when you go to see the performances, you know, usually I think what makes a performance next level is the emotion you put behind it, because a lot of simple performances that really don't have a lot of turns, don't have a lot of clutter, and even people who are 70, 80, who are not in the best dancing shape generally, they have one of the best performances of the night just because they're putting emotion into it. And kind of what Andres says, to add to that, is that once you have the performance down, once you have all the moves that you are confident you can do that in your sleep, I think you can start to kind of play with it. You can start to have fun with it while still keeping the general moves or the general structure, but then you can start to add your own little flair on top of what you're already doing. And I think that takes everything to the next level.
100%, brother. Right on the money. And I hope we answered your question. Thank you so much for it. The idea being similar in our lives, right? We can't, we got to show up to work on time. We got to shower every day. We got to brush our teeth, right? But to say that we can't have fun because we have to show up to work on time every day, that's a little extreme, right? So there's an infinite amount of space that lives between our responsibilities, knowing the choreography, that's your responsibility, and the actual fun that we can have while doing the work, right? And I've mentioned this in a previous episode. It's actually one of my favorite episodes. Is being able to understand that you can work and have fun at the same time. It does not have to be one or the other. And it's actually beautiful to be able to watch somebody who's working and enjoying themselves in the process. And that's essentially what it is. Why there's a lot of dancers and a lot of performers, not just Latin dance, and all over the world, artists, they enjoy their work. So allow yourself to enjoy the choreography that you're learning. Enjoy it to a point where you get through the work, you finish the work, and then now it's time. Now you can begin playing. Just because you finish your work, that life doesn't end after you're done working, right? It starts when you're done working, actually, yeah. Right? Now is when you can actually have a good time and take the lessons that you learned from the experience of the work, hence being the choreography in this case. Wonderful question. Thank you for that. So now, okay, so us knowing that, now we have this kind of rico principle, right? To not forget, to feel good through the entire process. And if we're not feeling good, we need to hit the reset button, right? To hit the reset button and go back. So as far as for future goals for yourself, and I'm not sure if you have necessarily any in dance at all, or this is kind of just a phase, and it doesn't really matter. We love you for as long as you enjoy dance. We got your back. We're your dance family forever. But how do we take this and apply this, moving forward? Whether, like I said, if it's dance goals or whether it's goals in your life, tell us how we can apply this, I guess, ultimately as a nugget for everything else.
Well, essentially, I mean, it started from real life. So applying it in real life basically means that if you're doing, just like he said, you can do work and you can do fun at the same time. And essentially what that means is that if you do what's fun, if you do what feels good, obviously not going into any dark paths, please,
right. Absolutely. Well said.
But still go with your feelings, because essentially feelings are your superpower on top of what you already have. You can do what you like, you can do what you have to do, you can do your responsibilities,
right?
But you also have the powers of feelings on top. You are the determinator, but you also have feelings. So you are a Terminator Rico Rigo.
Nice. Terminator, Rico, Rico, mic drop on that one, bro. Yo, that's awesome. No, okay. So for me, us being human, our superpower, as you said it, is that we have the ability to feel one another. We have the ability to connect with one another. We have the ability to connect with music, right? There's human beings that are creating this music, even if it's technology, even if it's música electrónica, right? There's still a human creating these patterns and these sounds that are deciding, wow, okay, this feels good. So then allowing us to be able to connect to that and represent that and continue to inspire others is great. It's very difficult, I would even gather to say impossible, to inspire somebody without any emotion. There's some sales stuff that's running through my head right now. I know nowadays, sales is looked down upon, which we could talk about that. That's a whole other episode. But ultimately, the idea is that when you're talking with somebody and you're selling ultimately an idea, right? This idea of Rico Rico, we're selling you guys this idea of this Rico Rico, and that it's ultimately a better experience for you by staying connected to the song, by staying connected to the music, regardless of how simple it can seem, perhaps even boring to begin with. But the way that we're able to sell this idea to you is by us feeling it. We're so confident, we feel so good, and you feel that emotion through these audio waves that are coming through your speaker right now, and you can basically tell if somebody actually believes what they're saying or whether they don't. Right. And as long as you stand behind that, you're ultimately going to be able to transfer this feeling off. And even if the other person agrees or disagrees, that's besides the point. But essentially, you want to be able to do the same thing when you're on stage or when you're social dancing, right? You want to be able to let everyone know, and not for their sake, but for your sake. It actually feels good to share happiness, to share joy. And what better way to do it than do it on the dance floor con música cubana, mi hermano, haciendo rueda de casino, bro. Right? So yes. Yes, man, I agree. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for that, man. Thank you. 100%. Your future is bright, my dude. For those of you that don't know, for those of you that read the podcast show notes, Pablito is actually the one that does the show notes for us. So he's very, very, very familiar with the podcast, all the episodes and the whole deal. So if you like those, give him a shout out. Actually, in the comments, they're there, whether it be on the website or on Spotify, Apple, or Google. So thank you guys for your continued loyalty. Pablo, you the man, but you knew that already. We appreciate you. And hopefully, guys, for those of you that are listening, join us on Miami Salsa Cruise. We will both be there. So come shake our hand, dance with us, and we both lead and follow. Así que... Yeah, wow. I'm sorry. I totally just said that. Okay, perfecto. Awesome, brother. Oye, familia, if you have any other questions, now's the time to ask. Otherwise, bro, again, thank you. An amazing episode. Awesome golden nugget, bro. Keeping el sentimiento de Rico Rico mientras que hacemos todo, no solamente el baile, sino en la vida, mientras que estamos cocinando, mientras que estamos caminando, mientras que estamos hablando con nuestros amigos. Whatever we do, that we're enjoying the journey essentially the whole way through. So thank you again, man. Any closing comments there? I know I can ramble a lot.
Nah, bro, it's all good. So yeah, I mean, guys, just apply it to everything. Be responsible with it, but you can have fun with it. You don't have to do work and be a Terminator. Oh, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. You can also have fun. I mean, you have feelings too that always helps us motivation to keep up the good work and be more effective, do everything better. You're a human, so use the tools you have at your disposal. You have so much to offer.
Amen. Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Perfecto, Pablito. Appreciate you, and we will see you guys next time. Subscribe to news.salsakingslive.com for more interviews, and hopefully again we'll see you guys on the cruise coming up in January. Nos fuimos. Later, guys. Be good. Rico, Rico.